Okay. I think I am back, guys. Let's see what we got. Refresh the list. Boom. All right. So, I mean, it was pretty fun. Kind of looking at what they did with Harry Potter. That's pretty crazy, man. But yeah, I have to be careful because they did use original content from the film, which is crazy. I don't know how they're still able to keep that up. I'm pretty sure the whatever studio, I think it was, I don't know if Universal or whoever, would be pretty pissed that they're doing that, but still up. So who knows, right? Who knows what they're doing to get away with it? All right. So we'll look at some kind of gaming and AI tutorials. I've been following a lot with game engines, getting a little bit into it, and also with Blender. Actually, trying to get my footing on a lot of that because we're wanting to do more on the graphics side of things. So we have a couple of projects with software and then with graphics. If I'm previewing anyone else's stuff, I'll do small previews. Oh, this is cool. 6-minute video, how he made a Steam game in only a month. So I'm going to cue that up. Let's see how easy it is to do that, you know? 1 gig VRAM versus 12 gigs VRAM. I mean, the only time I could see that, I mean, short of textures and everything like that, resolution, you know? Really, if you're hitting 4K or 8K, but if you're on a lower resolution, you're doing like anti-aliasing or anisotropic filtering, any of that stuff. I don't think it matters as much. Don't want to go right into it. He's going to totally oversell it. Where's he at? Boom. No. Game a bunch of other stuff. All right, well, if he pops back up, I'll click it. Young Washington's a good film, by the way, if y'all haven't seen it. If you care to learn a little bit about American history. 11 new cyberpunk games everyone needs to know about. We'll come back to that. $10,000. That's BS. No, I don't think so. I mean, the reason a website costs 10K, I guess, is labor. So maybe I don't know about 10K. That starts to get from website to like web application, right? But we'll check it out. All right, so kind of behind the scenes CG. That's 40 minutes though. I don't think they're going to be that useful stuff they got. These gestures on this keyboard. I use a real mouse. I'm using a track. It's ridiculous. Oh, DeepSeek. So that's the Chinese AI model, if you guys don't know. And they've been doing some pretty cool stuff. Point some on our. We've been sitting tight because we have a lot of projects already. And AI is just constantly changing. So it'd be a lot of work just trying to support it, you know? But it is on our short list. I mean, right now we're doing a lot with Claude because it's a great kind of a supporting tool for developers. 12, what? Which one is that? I like the cel-shaded Spider-Man film. That was really good. It gave a throwback to the comic books, actually. I wonder, yeah, why they call me the Bob Ross. How would Bob Ross have played that game today? I don't think he would. He wouldn't put down the brush. Oh, okay. Arkham Knight. I played that over 10 years ago, and that was a beautiful game. I'm going to just preview that. I don't think we can go through the whole game. That was an amazing game. Pick like a really amazing looking game and just play straight through it on stream. But if it's a good first person one, you can probably do it in about 6 hours. Burnt Peanut. Oh, he streams on YouTube too. 44K. I thought he was Twitch only. Yeah. I didn't know what the mukbang stuff until I told me. All right, let's check out some of these things. Auto remesher. Look into some of these tools. Is that his game?
I spent
it's a game,
making a Steam game
I
called
guess.
Gunfrog, and this month was by far the most profitable and exciting month in my game dev journey so far.
I'm probably going to see how Claude works with the blueprints.
The biggest game development
I have to put
YouTube. It was an invitation
Unreal
to
Engine on this
participate
machine
in a
though.
game dev competition. In this competition, 6 game developers would compete for $5,000 US. The competition would last 3 weeks total, with an elimination round at the end of each week. I was a little hesitant to participate at first because I had a lot on my hands.
So he made it competitive, and he's actually hosting
competitions.
competitions. That's pretty cool. Little Spider-Man mechanic in there. That's.
I spent around 4 years.
You know, it's not
working on
bad.
the
You just
same
keep upping the
game, and
graphics.
It's still not done. Because of that, I've been feeling a little burnt out.
Early
from development
access.
lately. This competition
It's
was a
indie,
good
dude. What do you mean
opportunity to
early
finally work on
access? You
something
must
new.
just call it indie.
On the first day of the competition, they announced the theme we'd need to create a game around: Momentum. With
Okay,
Grapple's
so it's a
being
competition to create a
physics-based
game.
movement shooter, I was pretty confident I could make something cool with this theme. A couple months ago, I learned a development approach that I knew would help me a lot during this competition. When I was working on a game called Schrodinger with some friends, we incorporated Valve's approach to playtests. They playtest every single day, and always base what they work on off of those playtest results. This approach drastically improved Schrodinger, and would be my biggest asset during this competition. With this approach in mind, I spent the first day making an active ragdoll frog and some bouncy trampolines to gain momentum on. Throughout the week though, because of playtest results, I slowly iterated the concept into something far more interesting. I gave the frog a gun to allow for more gameplay depth. Then I removed the trampolines in favor of bouncy
They always have to have a gun.
and built out a little open world. I also added flies so the player has something.
Like,
to
is that
do
even a
around,
question?
And these flies would double
That's
as a currency.
weird.
I was pretty happy with that mechanic
Frog with
because
gun.
it felt very unique. I also added a bunch of NPCs
How is he
to
aim?
interact
Is there
with,
even
such
aim, or is he
as
just like
this ammo
auto aiming?
dealer and this
If there was
wizard.
an aim
I
mechanic,
even
that'd
managed
be
to add a boss fight at the
insane.
end of the week. With all of this progress already,
think it's
I was
tiny.
pretty confident going into the
As long as
first
it's like
elimination
pointed in the
round.
right
It
direction.
was still nerve-wracking regardless, but I managed to get through to the second round of development.
See
I was
how.
feeling ambitious during the
A year
second
ago, he got a
week,
million
and
views on
I
this
knew I
one.
wanted to add 2 new boss fights and
Must
2 new
have been a
corresponding
good game.
areas. This sort of scope was only possible because of my game's art style. When designing it, I was thinking heavily about
What
a
engine did he
GDC talk
use,
I
though?
watched about the development of a short hike. In that talk, the developer explains how he created a time-efficient art style. By focusing on interesting shaders and
Yeah, he
simple
doesn't say, like, the
graphics,
engine.
He didn't need to spend too much time creating individual assets.
I don't think.
I applied this concept to my game's art. There are also a lot of small
That'd be cool.
imperfections in the art style of my game, but I think that gives it a lot of charm. I always appreciate that rough around the edges, handcrafted look in indie games. Here's how the new areas and boss fights.
Yeah,
look
we're
like.
trying to think of some just cool like companion games to create, but
I also made some smaller enemies.
I mean, it's not bad. I could see that
Final week.
taking a month though.
In this final, I managed to win Best Technology. We also got 2 other nominations.
Kind of cool already.
Prize
But,
it took.
oh wow.
So let's
I
see.
like
Fable
that.
built a
That
10K
is
website.
beautiful.
The breakout.
Look
This
at
is an
this.
It's an
Honestly,
yeah.
I'm shocked that this is made with one prompt. This
Actually,
is
it's really good.
incredible.
That was
Okay, now
made with
let's look
one
at a
prompt.
portfolio website. Okay, nice. That is
Yeah, because it's
cool.
using the 3D
Man, this
modeling
is
in
very
HTML,
nice.
where you can build 3D objects.
Wow. So Claude Fable 5 is back.
That's
and
insane,
it is
actually.
absolutely incredible at building
That was a single
websites.
prompt?
I've been testing this non-stop since yesterday. So in this video, I'm going to show you step by step how to do this. But on top of that, I'm going to give you this one prompt website pack that you can basically just copy paste
Oh, it's
depending
'cause
on
it's got a
whatever
skill
niche
file,
or whatever
I bet.
you want to build there. You can build portfolio
That's
websites.
why.
You can build like e-commerce website, whatever you need. I'm going to give you guys this completely for free.
So he
in the
created a
description of the
skills
video,
pack.
so that way you can just follow me along. We're going to be using this.
I mean,
all
that's cool,
inside
you
our
know,
Claude code,
but it's definitely
and
not
we're gonna
just one
connect this
prompt.
to
Like he
a
built the skills
model
pack.
like Seedance 2.0,
It's a little-
Banana,
little bit of a
image,
cheat code there
so
when
that
the
way
way
we
he's
can
saying
create
it.
everything within Claude code. I'm going to use the Higgsfeed MCP, but if you guys want to use something else, feel free to do whatever you want. But I'm going to show you all of this step by step, so all you have to do is just follow me along. So obviously Fable 5 is back until July 7th.
Yeah, I'm loving MCPs, man. If you, because they're not just doing it for website services now. You can actually have an MCP as they're getting built into the apps themselves. So like Unreal Engine added an MCP so you can prompt it and build an environment. Blender has an MCP so you can now edit and do your modeling in Blender through Claude, right? And you know, it's kind of a companion. You're not going to do everything through there, but
obviously the more you go on the smarter side, the more it's going to use your tokens. So kind of play around with different. By the way, this is just like a fictitious.
Let's see what he's got.
Pretty well. So in order to create these websites that have these 3D scrolling effects, so like right here, you can see, I mean, this is mind blowing, right? Like how it's able to do this.
They actually had 3D and HTML since the 90s.
And by the way, this is just like a
it's just the computers couldn't handle the processing.
Watch brand. It just created
until about like 5 to 10 years ago, Chrome added GPU accelerating
aspects of the video, the different
for the 3D in browsers.
Important for you to use a model
with HTML5, I think.
4K image quality, right? And CDance 2.0 that we're going to use inside Higgsfield does that, right? So, but like I said, you can use Kling or some other model.
That's why he's using a bunch of models.
Completely up to you. But this scrolling effect that you're seeing here, this is technically a video that's separated in multiple frames and then also images as well. So same thing with the portfolio website here, right?
Okay, so it's not
I
actually
my image and it's
you're just playing a video at that point. That's man.
To add. So again,
that's cheating, dude. I thought you were actually using the 3D.
Code here
that's cheating.
Right? I don't know what this is.
Because then you're just generating video with AI.
Working with AI models, especially with agents that are doing some really challenging or long
already got
tasks,
the answer.
they take quite a while to process and generate your answer. It sometimes takes a painfully long time to.
I thought it was writing real code.
A task. But what if
that's
that wait basically
what's cool.
disappeared? What if instead of watching a loading spinner, you got your answer back almost instantly? And what if this speed boost didn't cost you anything in quality? No shortcuts or dumbed-down answers. This seems way too good to be true, right? But the genius team at DeepSeek did it again. They found a way to push AI systems to more than 6 times the output capacity and speed things up by over 80% without
we might run DeepSeek, and like if we do, we'll push it out for beta for you guys to actually use it, try it out.
Really have both at the same time, but surprisingly, DeepSeek was able to pull this off. In this video, we're going to go over this breakthrough and the clever engineering.
DeepSeek's actually getting good.
Now, this is quite a technical paper, but as always,
but we would deploy it for like you guys to play with, like a playground.
Let's jump right in. First of all,
because I think it needs like 300-400 gigs of RAM.
This is a small Chinese lab that's incredibly resource constrained. They have like 20 times fewer employees than OpenAI. Heck, they don't even have access to the top NVIDIA GPUs out there, so they're incredibly limited.
Imagine being able to build an app with your name on it, just by thinking about it. Meet Base 44.
In terms of compute. But the team is simply brilliant and relentless. In fact, they've already built one of the most intelligent and efficient open source models out there, DeepSeek v4. Not only did they release the model, but they were also generous enough to reveal all the details on how this works. In fact, if you want to learn
is DeepSeek
more about
open
this,
source?
I highly recommend this video where I do a deep
I know
dive
you can
on
deploy it,
DeepSeek v4.
and I think it's
Anyway,
open source because it's
of their
Chinese.
Because they
People are going to be like,
severely
I don't
limited
trust
by
them.
Resources, they can't just keep building
We got a
bigger
ton of
and
servers
bigger
though. It'd be
models.
great
They
to
have to be
put them to some
laser-focused
AI
on
work,
making them
but
as efficient as possible. And that's why the publications from DeepSeek are so interesting. It's not just
but the
about
amount of
brute
heat
force,
and
but
power
about
AI
smarter
takes up
design. And a few
is
days
insane.
ago, they released a new system called DSpark. This claims to speed up AI models and increase their output capacity by over 600% without any cost in quality. That's a pretty crazy result. Now, before we go over this, it's probably helpful to first understand a ton
all right,
of
we're going
calculations
to
at
get
once.
through it. Let's see if we can actually. Okay, hold on. I might try to run this game 4K 120. What are they running it on? That game was beautiful, and that's like a 15-year-old game. Look at that. Such a great game design. I mean, I get this is open world, right? It was one of the first ones that successfully did open world in such a great way. This is it's Arkham Knight. So it's actually, well, this one was probably about 10 years ago. It's one of the later ones, but the first ones looked really good anyway. It's just bumped graphics. Camera shake, of course. Makes you feel like you're there. So it's not just a third-person camera. It's actually like you're walking behind him. It's great cinematics.
Batman? That had better be you. And you had better be sorry.
See, people jump to this part right here.
Keep still.
Why? Let's check it out.
Stand there, Dark Knight.
I hated the
Take that
Riddler
rocket
stuff.
fueled roadster of yours and make your way to the Cauldron train yard.
Those puzzles were insane. Oh, that's why people were... Is it the puzzles? Oh, no. Yeah, okay, it is. Yeah, like the Titan solution or
Search
whatever.
for any properties in Gotham owned or leased by Dr. Langstrom.
Certainly. Let me see.
So I'm kind of learning a lot with the cinematography and all that, like the over-the-shoulder camera angles. How you kind of have a rocking camera when you're walking with them. It's like, I know God of War does it too. It makes you feel like you're there with them. All of those little things are amazing. As far as like immersion goes, really makes you feel like you're there. Now when you're flying, I don't think you can really do a camera shake when you're up in the air like that, but it's more like airplane dynamics. Really, really smart design. This game added a lot of creative design elements. Actually, a lot of the new Spider-Man games copied off of this. It's phenomenal.
I have studied you for a long time.
All right. So we won't watch through those games. This guy's just playing through. Matter of fact, how many people watch this thing? This is pretty cool looking playthrough, but yeah, I mean, I guess 1 month. Well, it must have been a good playthrough.
You can use to create 3D models by using nodes.
You got over a million in 1 month.
He has
So
just put together Auto Remesher. And Auto Remesher is a cross-platform automatic rectangular remeshing tool that simply converts high-poly meshes into clean rectangular-based topologies. And today we're simply going to take a look at this and also compare it with Blender. And something that just happened before we wrapped up the video is we did see a nice cool nugget that I think Blender artists would love, which is in form of an add-on that communicates with Auto Remesher.
I'm
For
gonna
those who would
hit.
like to get this, all you need to do is go
Is
to
it
the
a
link in the
tool?
description. They'll bring you right
okay,
here where you
well
can
that's beyond me right now. I'm gonna probably hit some base tutorials before I get into Blender and start doing some of the stuff myself. What? 160 pounds versus 660 diet swap. Yeah, that person's gonna cheat unless they're watching him. How to make a combat system in Unreal Engine 5. That's nearly a 4-hour tutorial. So like basically you're going to be coding. Oh man, first hour of gameplay and preview. Free open world RPG. This one looks amazing actually. I might actually follow these guys right here. They got some good covers on content. 2026 open world. It's good graphics. Really good graphics. The problem is everything in Unreal Engine 5 does start to carry like a similar look. It's a great engine, but I think people are, I don't know if they're using assets or what. It has a really familiar feel to it. You know? Let's see. It looks fun, but okay. It looks like a good game. Definitely a nice, chill, first-person game, like a RPG to play. Let me check it out. What is this on? check my PlayStation app. So, get the camera around here. Got the mic.
It's been quite some
And
time,
Nemo.
human.
Is this a beta game? Announced. Full game. Yeah, so he's playing a... Okay, it's a preview. So it's unreleased. So I'll just add on the watch list. See when it comes out. Yeah, that's probably why it's like there's not a lot of voice. I don't know if I would want to read the whole time though. But that might be like the unpolished part of it. How to make a big game alone. In 10, all right, 10 minutes. Let's see what he's got. Because I'm not watching like these 8-hour tutorials on how to make a
Most
game.
people
That's
assume
insane.
A team made this.
It's got to
But
be
it was
like
made
reasonable.
by one nerdy dude. Hi. To make this happen, I needed hand-drawn environments. But I can't draw. I needed dozens of painted buildings, which
Yeah,
I
you got to
don't
get
have time
shared
for.
assets.
And I wanted
So how'd you
thousands
do
of
it?
enemies on the screen.
See what he's
I
got.
didn't use AI.
Project Tomorrow.
I couldn't hire a
it's a
team.
different engine.
And no, I don't secretly have a publisher. I'll show you
Yeah,
how
there's
I
a lot of
generate seamless,
good alternative
hand-drawn
engines.
textures without being an artist. How my materials adapt automatically instead of being repainted.
But you'll
How
notice
every
that their
bullet,
games are made in
explosion,
those
and
engines
enemy gets reused so
because
the game never
the
slows
assets
down.
will like look familiar, like the grass and the
15
buildings, you know.
months ago, my game landed on Steam's popular Upcoming and did 6 figures in revenue. Then I disappeared.
Not bad. And then it disappeared. Well, that sucks.
Since then,
I guess
I've been
it's
building
good.
This
I mean,
between my day job and dad duty.
make
It's
it
a base
2.0.
building survival game with terraforming and crafting. Earth lies poisoned and abandoned 10,000 years after invasion.
These indie
You
games are
awaken
just
from
it
stasis
actually looks
to
good.
defend a fragile foothold
They're
and slowly
super
bring a
popular
dead
because you
soul
can
back
play
to
them
life, so
like quick
humanity can
rounds or
live here
whatever
again.
whenever you
I
want.
call it Project
There's no
Tomorrow.
commitment.
But wait, let's back
Which is
up.
great.
Why Project Tomorrow? I've always been drawn to dystopian stories about broken worlds that need
All
healing.
right.
I love the Silo books. I've sunk countless hours.
All right,
in
we got you.
Broken
Let's,
in the
let's
belief
see
that
how
maybe
you did
some
it. Painting with
form-
math.
If I had to paint every surface in this game by hand, I'd still be painting. Every cliff, every rock, every terrain tile. That doesn't scale. So instead of painting assets, I built
You
a
know, that's
system
something that
paints
you'll
them for me.
have in
Not with
Blender.
AI, with
They call it
rules.
procedural,
In Substance Designer,
was it
I can
procedural
build
something,
materials out of math,
where you
noise
use an
patterns,
equation, you can
tile
like create
samplers, and blends,
floors of the
combined in
building and,
ways that I
and
can
build it
adjust
out,
at
or
any
like
time.
whole
Change one
landscapes,
value, and the entire
and you
surface
can generate
updates.
it to your
This file
taste.
is called a graph, and one graph
So you still have
can
unique
generate endless
assets,
variations.
but
So
instead of
creating
just using
hundreds of
copy and paste
hand-painted
assets,
textures, I created a recipe that paints them for me. But I can get
and
so
it's
much
apparently
more
really, really
color
cool
out of
in
these
Blender.
graphs.
So you
This
can at least
floor
have
is
original
completely
assets,
flat.
and it's
No-
apparently
no map.
complicated.
It's
They
just
worked
a
it out.
texture. It doesn't add polygon. I use
Here
smart
goes
materials
procedural
within
texturing.
Substance
Let's see what he did here.
Painter. Difference. There's a link in the description. Now let's talk about how I painted dozens of buildings with a system. Buildings are the same idea as the environment. Instead of hand painting every asset, I use smart materials within Substance Painter that react to the geometry. Edgeware appears instantly. Dirt collects in crevices. Color variation happens automatically. I don't paint assets. The material does the work so that I don't have to. One last detail. It's subtle, but it's
That's
cool.
pretty cool.
Even the leaves
That's going to
are
allow
procedural.
big
In
games
Blender,
to
I
be
place
made,
simple
like
spheres
bigger
on a
games.
trunk. Then geometry nodes scatter leaf card meshes across them. Each card is 6-sided, so the leaves hold up from any angle. Add a texture,
Yeah,
the
these
tree builds
tricks.
itself.
Really, really cool.
Animation returns. Even the player animations are system driven. It's simulated. Water keeps you
Pretty cool,
alive,
but
water also
gonna see what else you got. Lord of the Rings game. Used to be when movie games were created, they were terrible. I don't know how that's going to turn out. They were almost never something you would want to see. So that's kind of questionable to me, honestly. Y- 6 years in Blender in 13 minutes. Okay. Yeah, that's cool. I'm gonna check that out.
Coding is changing.
Work
It's
in
changing for the
Maya
better,
and 3D
it's
Studio.
because coding agents are getting so
Way
good.
back in the
They're
90s
getting
when I was in
smarter,
high
they're
school, I was-
getting faster.
and I was
It's a-
self-taught.
It's
It
been
was
6
it wasn't
years since I first
Maya
got
was
into
hard.
Blender
It was
and
way
fell in
harder.
love with 3D. It all
Because
started
it had
pushing around
no
vertices, trying to
assistance.
make
You were doing
art which
everything.
no one saw,
But
to
it
where
was
I am now,
extremely
working as a
powerful and the
full-time 3D
results were
creator.
beautiful.
In this video, I'll be sharing my
But
experience
Blender
over
is
these
really
6 years,
it's carrying
going
its
over
weight
what
now. I
did
think
to
a lot
get
of
to
things are
where I
being
am
made in
today.
Blender.
Things like what mistakes I made in the early days, what I'd do differently if I could do it again, plus, most importantly, what I did right that got me to where I am now.
So it's
And believe
exciting
me,
to see it.
There's a lot. So for year one, I set out to learn 3D modeling and rendering, and I
Yeah.
learned pretty quickly that most people use Maya, Cinema 4D, or Blender
Yep.
to do this. Now, I personally liked Cinema 4D since I knew
I've
it
heard
had
about Cinema
integrations
4D,
with
but
After
I don't
Effects,
know who
and
does
at the
it.
time I was already pretty good at using Adobe software, but
Oh, it's with Adobe stuff.
so yeah, Blender
Yeah, I'm
it
not going
was.
back to Adobe.
At the time, Blender 2.79 was the latest version. It was rough around the edges compared to today, but it got
2.9.
the job done, and at
What are
least
they
it
at
was
now?
free, which was good enough for me.
5?
Since I was already
5.1?
pretty good with 2D art and design, I figured there was
Way
no need
different
for me
now.
to learn the basics in 3D, which honestly was my first major mistake. Progress was super slow, and even the most basic of tasks would take me hours. But stubborn as I was, I just put my head down and kept at it. I can just take my inspiration from a show I was watching and use that to create an artwork. Yeah. So this took me literal weeks to do, and it's basically just a few cylinders, extruded cubes,
Yeah.
and a plane or two.
I think the
Now, is it a
procedural would help
terrible
with that,
artwork?
because you can
No,
regenerate
I
that
don't
in
think
just
so,
a
but
seconds
it's
to
also
minutes.
not the best, and definitely not
Like you
seeing
build
how
one,
much time I put in.
and then
I
you
usually
duplicate.
pick up skills quite fast, so struggling this much to create something this simple and finding out creating in 3D is nothing like 2D honestly discouraged me a lot. So much so that I gave up on Blender for the rest of year one and went back to just playing video games instead. It's worth noting though that even
Game-
the biggest artists
game
out
development's
there
hard, man.
started with
Studios
some
come and
terrible,
go, too.
terrible artworks.
They do
No one
not
is
stick
born
around.
an award-winning artist. It always takes tons of time and effort. So don't
And the
expect
nodes
to be
concept
good
is
from the get-go,
relatively
but
new.
instead put in the work. Enter year two. In year two, my job increasingly sucked, and so I figured it would be a good idea to have a goal
Job
to work
increasingly
towards.
sucked.
I set my sights on working in the game industry, so I connected with some friends of friends.
You gotta
who
be
already
good
worked
to be
at
in the game
AAA
industry.
game
It's super
studios,
competitive.
And even noticed some new openings at Guerrilla Games. But this new goal also created some anxiety, as it created doubt for my weapon of choice, Blender. Everywhere I looked, including in many job listings, people said
at the
that
time,
Maya
Blender
and
wa-
3ds
Blender wasn't
Max
good.
were the industry
It
standards,
just
and Blender
wasn't
was no more than the
at the
slightly
highest
dopey
level.
nephew of 3D softwares. Now, I obviously didn't want to set myself back with the wrong skill for the job.
It was
putting in
very,
all that time
very,
and
like,
effort. However, the 3D artist I spoke
premature in
to
its
all
skill-
said the same thing.
capabilities.
It's not the tool that matters, but the result. Plus, many
Yeah.
of the same principles apply on a broader level than the tool itself. Learning Maya
Gotta
isn't
be able to
crazy
just
hard
export
if
it.
you're great at Blender, just as learning digital art isn't that difficult if you already make physical art. So it's not time wasted in my opinion. And to be honest, it also kind of fit my view since Blender was still $2,500 cheaper than the so-called industry standards. Plus, with the
Yeah.
2.8 update, Blender looked and performed better than ever, and also got
While it's going, guys, I'm
increasingly
gonna
popular
go
with
ahead
both pro
and make
aspiring
myself another cup of
artists.
tea.
Fact
So I'm gonna
was,
just
though,
let this
that
run
you'll
for a
have
bit.
to learn the basics for the tool.
But I'll be right
if you
over
may
there.
Remember, I still didn't really know any of these basics. And not only did I not know the Blender basics, I also needed to learn skills like UV unwrapping, texturing, proper topology, and so many other crucial skills. So just like in year one, I went at it and tried doing it all by myself. But this time around, I realized my mistake early on and took to the internet and my new 3D artist friends for help. Now, I can't stress enough the importance of having access to a group of people like that. It's so cool and such a great motivator to be able to learn from and with each other, which is why I would recommend each and every one of you to look for similar groups, even if it's just a general one like my own Discord channel. To further improve my skill, I also watched dozens of tutorials on anything game art related and took several courses, like for example, CG Boost's Master 3D Environments course. Now, had I known about Skillshare at the time, the sponsor of this video, I probably would have learned so much more too during this year. You can't always find good tutorials on subjects, and by buying courses can be really expensive. Yet, Skillshare offers hundreds of different courses on a wide range of topics, whether it's Blender, Maya, 3ds Max, UV unwrapping, or something entirely different yet relevant, like the course Designed for the Job You Want, Personal Projects to Build Your Portfolio by Alison Kohler, that teaches you how you can effectively use your time for personal projects that will help you land that dream job. Skillshare literally offers thousands of classes on dozens of
Camera to
relevant
focus on me.
subjects that will all help you become better.
I blurred
And
out.
with their new
There it
and
is.
improved class system, including smarter class categories, new class topics, and the ability to
All
find
right.
classes with family and friends, and trying to learn a new language. Creating 3 high quality and taught me a lot of programming. Looking, it's always been a common theme in my life to my first few Blender tutorials. They did tutorials and content. What was
I might
really
try
cool is
one.
that
I might try
the
to
artists, although one themselves
figure out.
learning is a
Yeah, let me
lifelong
think.
process, especially with Blender.
I don't know if I
developing
want to
so
hook
fast.
it.
We're
If I
already
want to
Blender
like
4
tinker with
plus now,
Blender
which is kinda crazy
or
to me coming from
Unreal
2.7,
Engine.
and this industry is constantly moving and changing. Just
Because
take
with
AI,
Unreal
for
Engine,
example, throw
I
in
can
new
actually
challenge
do
function, and I can't really get off anymore.
something like it,
I'm on
even
board,
if it's a
heading for
simple game.
destination
I don't
who
even know if it's
knows.
a good
Now,
choice.
I'm not complaining.
Let's see what
this
they.
train is amazing, and I'm having a blast riding it. But seeing
Claude.
Blender from the window as I pass it once more isn't always fun.
What
And
should
that's
I
what my
start in?
biggest
Let's
takeout
see what it
from
says.
6
We'll
years
start
of
easy.
Blender is. I started doing Blender initially as a creative outlet, with making a living being a means to keep doing Blender as much as possible. And going from starting out,
I'm
making
already
art
busy
like
with a
this
lot of our
to
software
improving the
projects
game
anyways
assets
that
like
we have
these, to
going
finally
on, but
having a successful
I kind of
career
want to
doing
tinker with
3D tutorial
3D
content for
modeling and
over
just
200,000 of you
2D,
has been
3D stuff on the
amazing to
side
be
just
a
for
part of.
kicks.
But at some
Not
point, turning a hobby into work
like
can
as my
prevent you from
primary
actually
thing because
doing
we're
the
really
hobby
trying
in
to
the
push out
free,
other stuff.
careless way that you did before.
But
There's nothing wrong with that, but it's good to realize this
start
if
in
you set out to
Unreal
turn your passion
if the
into a
game
living. Now, for me,
is
way
the
forward
priority.
is to get
Blueprints
back
will
into
get you to a
Blender as
playable
much as possible
catch.
whilst embracing
Okay,
this
so
new
playable
career that it
prototype.
gave me. How?
Way
I don't know
faster
yet,
than
but
anything Blender
I do
offers.
know
So
that I look forward to the years to come and share with all of you and Blender.
you can prototype with placeholder assets. Oh, because Unreal has a marketplace of freebies, basic shapes, AI generated models. That's pretty cool. So let's check out Unreal Engine blueprints. Let's see. See what's going on with that. Because apparently you can just like create a game pretty quickly with
This tutorial for
blueprints.
beginners will teach you how to use blueprint visual scripting in
Let
Unreal.
me read it before I play it. So you can do basic freebies, basic shapes, AI generated models from Meshy, Tripo. Okay. You don't need to know how to model anything to prove the game loop is fun. So it's a way to like develop the game without doing any models yet. That's the highest question anyway. Unreal can do that, can do interactive, Blender can't for gaming basically. And with blueprints, you can apparently onboard really fast. But if you're doing animation, like whether it's 2D or 3D, then Blender is the priority. So, And the grease pencil's apparently really cool in Blender. So it's kind of like just depending on what direction you're wanting to go. And it's eventually where you would make your like custom models will be in Blender. So, but to start, you can actually start off just right in Unreal and prototype. And because you're modeling in Blender, it has a steeper, slower learning curve before you produce anything satisfying. Yeah, because you're doing like everything one by one. So it's like prototype in Unreal, get your environment, everything built up, switch over to Blender, and then you can actually create your custom models and just start dropping them in. So Unreal first. All right, hold on, guys. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Gotta get some caffeine. So, a playable prototype is stronger proof of concept for the IP, or like if we're depending on what we're doing, then animation test it. So that's cool. You can defer 3D modeling entirely. with placeholders and AI tools, so Blender skills transfer into Unreal later when you're doing custom modeling. Don't do both simultaneously, of course. Like, that's terrible. All right, cool. Let's see about blueprints.
5 to implement game logic. Getting started with Unreal Engine can be quite intimidating, but I specifically designed this video so that anybody can easily follow along, even if they've never used any game engine or never did any programming before. You'll create your first blueprint from scratch to make a pickup. You'll learn how different blueprint actors can communicate with one another, how to program things like a pickup spawner, an elevator using timelines,
That's
a
pretty
flying
cool.
enemy that chases the player, and much more. By the end of this, you'll have a fundamental understanding of blueprints and a simple but complete game with a win and lose
Well,
condition
this is an
that
hour
you
and
can show
15
off to
minute
friends.
tutorial, so
first,
let's start
to follow
easy.
along with this exercise, make sure that you have the Epic Games Launcher installed, and then also that you have one of the latest versions of Unreal Engine. I'll use Unreal Engine 5.8 for this, which just released recently, but you can also follow along with newer versions, and most things should still look the same for the next couple of years. So launch whichever version you want to use. Then in this project launcher, click on New Project, make sure Games is selected, and we want to use third person as the starting point. Down here, make sure it is set to blueprints,
Oh,
desktop,
cool.
maximum, and no variant. Then just set the name. I'll call it Blueprint Intro, and click on Create. Now, if this is your first time opening Unreal Engine, the shader compilation might take a while, but it'll be faster the next time you open up the editor. But after a while, you should see this screen here with the third-person template stage loaded up. If we press play, then click into the viewport, we get control of the game, we can run around with WASD, we can jump with space, and we can move the camera. And this is actually using a blueprint. Just to quickly show you, in the content drawer, we have the third-person blueprints, and this BP third-person character controls
that's
basically
neat.
everything we do here in the game.
So you could
with
just
this
like
character.
drop a blueprint
We're gonna
right
open it
away.
up and look into how this works later.
And then you just
but
edit
for now, we want
stuff.
to start with a much simpler blueprint first. So let's make our first blueprint from scratch. And by the way, you can open and close the content drawer either by clicking here or by using Control and Space. Okay, let's now make our first blueprint. Go to Content, right-click. I want to make a folder, so New Folder, and just call it Blueprints. Then double-click to open it up. And now right-click
We have
again,
Fable
and
too
here
off
you can see we have some
Claude for a
options
couple
of
weeks, so
objects that we can
it's a
create.
perfect
We want to
opportunity to
create
just
a
mess around
blueprint
with it
class.
and see how good it
When
really
creating
is.
a blueprint, we have to pick a parent class. And if you're completely new to programming, specifically object-oriented programming, the terminology of parent and child class might already confuse you, but it's actually not that complicated. And without getting too deep into it, this terminology comes from a concept called inheritance, which is part of object-oriented programming. And it allows a parent class to pass down its properties to its child classes. And just to give you an advanced example, in my JRPG Master class, we have the Battlechar base class, which is the parent. Then we have the Battlechar party base. We split into this child, and we can also split into a different child, Battlechar enemy base. And then from this, we have multiple children again, which are the different enemies, the different heroes, the different characters. And basically, we can pass down the sprite and material settings, the particle and damage number locations, pointer target. So everything they share is up here. And we can also have different functions and methods based on the class. And then here we just change like the health values, we change the attacks they can have, and things like that. So instead of having to copy
So
paste
Unreal's
everything from
defaults
scratch, we just
assume
share
a powerful
what is the same,
machine.
and
So
then
if
we
you're
just
like
add
shipping
what's
to
different
mobile,
down here for the
you have to
children.
like
So basically in here, we just
down-
want to pick whatever is closest to what
down
we want
notch
to create.
the,
So we
settings.
don't want a pawn, we don't want a character, we don't want a game mode. We just want to make a simple pickup for now, which is pretty much one of the easiest blueprints we can make. And, well, an actor is an object that can be placed or spawned in the world. So we want to pick the actor as the parent class. And it is customary to name these BP underscore as a prefix for blueprint. And then I'm just going to call it pickup and hit enter. And why do we do this? Well, it just makes it very clear what this is. And also if we hit Control and P, we can search in our project, and it makes it very easy to just look for BP and things like that. Let's now open up the blueprint editor. So double click the BP pickup. And I'm just going to drag the window here.
Yeah, these
Okay,
tutorials, they
this
just
is the
fly
blueprint
through them,
editor,
man.
and it consists of multiple parts. Here in the middle, we have the viewport, right? So it shows us the visual elements of our blueprint. Right now, we don't have anything here except for this icon. That is fine for now. On the right side, we see the details
Let me get
panel,
my caffeine.
and here we can override all of the parameters that come from the parent actor class, and we can also add our own here to then change. On the left side, we have the blueprint overview, and here we have the event graph. If I click it, you can see this is where we can do blueprint visual scripting, which we're going to get into. We also have the construction script, which you don't really use a lot. And here we can then add our new functions, which we're also going to get into later, macros, and we can create our variables, right? So this is where basically all of the logic we use for our blueprints exists, and we can then reuse these parts here. But what we now want to focus on are the components here. So let me go back to the viewport, and here we can attach components to the blueprint like audio, skeletal mesh, a cube, a sphere, a plane. Many different things exist here that we can add to our blueprint. And the first thing we want to do is, well, because we want the player to see the pickup, I just want to use a sphere here, right? And you can see the sphere now pops up here. We can rename it, but I think sphere is fine. I'll just click away. And now let's just place this in the actual game world. So let's just compile and save and go back to the stage. And I want to place this in front of the character. You can see here, this is the arrow where our character looks into this direction. And I can go to the content drawer. We have the BP pickup. I just want to drag it out here and drag it up in the air a little bit on these arrows.
I see.
And just on a side note, to move
so it kind of like depends on the engine and what you're wanting to do.
Use WASD to move around like a first-person shooter. If I start the game now, the ball, it just floats in the air and it blocks our player, right? But it exists, it is working. Now we just want to kind of change the properties little by little. First, I want to make the sphere smaller and also apply gravity to it.
All
so
right, this is going to be a long tutorial, so...
This is the better method because it is...
And everything's got nodes, man. It's kind of like... And it's cool, but I feel like it'd be nice if these kind of all shared a similar... Like a singular pipeline. And let's see. Let's do Unreal Engine Blueprints versus Unity. Let's see how that Unity holds up. You know? Yeah, they're going to talk about... I don't know if they're going to have that because Blueprints is its own thing. Okay, this is like comparing the 3 engines, so that's pretty cool.
So, last Friday, me and a buddy were having
See,
a fun conversation
counts.
talking about our experiences in Unreal and how it's very different from other engines like Unity and Godot. And I just thought this would be a fun topic to just share with you guys.
Godot.
I'm really curious
Is
to
it
hear
Godot or
if this
Godot?
is your experience too or not. So, full disclosure, even though I'm an indie dev and I know enough code to make a game, I'm definitely not a programmer. I am more of a 3D artist that can code enough to make things happen and finish a project, but I have no shame in admitting that my code programming level is nowhere near as optimal or something made by a real programmer. The point though, despite my lack of being a fully capable programmer though, while I was in Unity, I was still able to make and finish a lot of games. Like, I personally used to make a game every 2 years. In the span of this YouTube channel, I made
Make a game every 2
then
years.
Reactor, then Let's Expedite, then Macro
But
Phage,
like-
and right after that was when I moved to Unreal, and I haven't finished a
Is that a
single
good
project
idea?
since. And my friend's story is
Let's
even
see if he has
crazier.
them.
He's a professional programmer, and he was telling me he used to make games a year, like 3 in 1 year, and ever
I
since
feel
he
like
moved
that's
to
kind of
Unreal,
like not
he
a good
has made
idea. Wouldn't you want to
0.
make one good
So
game?
something is different.
Or is he just
about
trying to see
Unreal,
what
and
hits?
after discussing it with him, one of the biggest differences that we kind of both noticed is Unity and Godot are a lot more hands-off and freestyle when it comes to how to build your shit. So what does that mean? Well, basically, if you learn how to do something in Unity, let's say you make something appear out of nowhere. Now, in gaming terms, we call that instantiation. And in Unity, it's one line of code called instantiate your thing at this position.
That's a
in
C++
this rotation.
thing.
So if I wanted to spawn
But they
an
probably have
asteroid
scripting.
in the middle
Actually,
of
it
the
looks like
world,
C++.
then the code would look like this. Now, for an indie dev, especially a hobby or a part-time dev, once you learned the instantiation code, you usually were like, oh, okay, I think I see how this works, and you just used it to instantiate
pop objects in.
everything. Like in one of my first games, I basically used it to spawn the player, spawn the enemies, spawn the
You
explosions
spawn as
the
you go
enemies
because you're going
died,
to eat up
spawn
RAM.
Guns, spawn the bullets from the guns, and no, it probably wasn't very optimal, but it worked, and I was able to build a lot of the
Yeah,
project really
you
fast.
just eat up
once I
their
knew how
memory.
spawning worked. And even though my code was probably not very good, you know, at the end of the day, 4
It's a
out of
cell
5
phone
people
game.
said they had a lot of fun playing the game, and for me, that was enough. Now, this is not how Unreal works. You can't just learn to instantiate something and then use that line of code to instantiate everything you need.
Get
In
some of this
Unreal,
tea.
instantiating something from a random blueprint is different depending on whether you're spawning a character or an actor or a scene or a level or a sub-level or a particle, and it's different depending on what is doing the spawning. Are we spawning things from a character
So yeah, I think
blueprint, or
blueprints
are
are
we
slower,
spawning
but
things
they're
from the
more
level
hands off the
blueprint?
code.
You know, there's a slight
can reuse
difference
them.
between these things, and you better know what the rules
So they're
are,
probably
or
better.
else Unreal will let you know later on. So while in Unity, where
And hey guys, welcome to the stream. I see more people are popping in. You know, this is our third attempt at kind of getting to know you guys and running the stream. We're just watching some AI, game engine, 3D modeling kind of stuff because we are tinkering with a little bit of it and getting into it a little bit. Maybe we'll have some future projects, but definitely fun for the stream. A lot of our software projects we can't really put on a stream. There's a lot of security going on with that, so
usually what you do is you export the character as an FBX, then you import
that
it
is
to
funny.
the engine. Easy. Makes sense, right? Well, not in Unreal 5. Because the first time you ever try and export a character into Unreal 5, you will get errors. Hundreds of errors telling you your mind poses are missing. Your bones are missing. In fact, your skeleton is just wrong. So your limbs are stretching,
So
and your
Unreal's
proportions are out
complicated.
of whack. Your character is 100 times too small. The roughness maps are broken. The normal maps are backwards. In fact, the character itself is backwards and facing the wrong direction. There are so many things that can go wrong during import that I spent 6 months creating debug videos showing you guys how to fix
That's
every
crazy.
single one
Yeah,
of these
okay.
errors, just so that everybody could know how to get the character into
They don't have a
Unreal
standard
without
like
it breaking.
format between
Let that sink in.
Blender and
6
Unreal.
months to learn how to import the character into the engine. To put this into perspective, in 6 months, I could have made a whole ass game in Unity, but instead, I learned how to get the character into the engine. Let's
That's
take another
terrible.
example of something that you wouldn't expect to be complicated, but kinda is when you get to Unreal. Epic created this gameplay animation sample system, which is the new movement system that was developed for Fortnite that Epic has given everyone for free so that they can use in their games. Now, usually if you're,
That's
a
why every game
seasoned
kind of looks like
programmer, you have a
Fortnite.
basic understanding how to do,
They have the same
basic
movement mechanics and
third-person or
everything.
first-person shooting movement in a game. It's the traditional
Same engine.
directional strafing animations, and then a few upper body aiming animations, and you kind of just mask the upper body and put them together, and bam, 2 hours later, you have your movement, and you can begin testing the game the next day. Now let's look at the system that Unreal wants you to use, which is called motion matching. But what do we find instead? 200 running animations, 80
Wow.
walking animations, 54 jumping
There's your blueprints.
animations, 9 idle animations. What the f is going on? Why are there 200 running animations? Like, this is the standard free locomotion system that Epic themselves.
It's why it sucks when you just they're pre-generating the animations versus making them tunable options, right? Because you could have made that like 1 or 2 animations or models and just tune the way the movements are, right? Like, oh, they're hunched over more, or there's more of like a longer gait or something like that.
We have a database. Okay, wait, and all this gets fed into a blueprint? What is the
Maybe that
blueprint
actually
look
that
like?
might be what they
the
did,
f is
and they're just different
happening?
blueprints.
Like, I see the notes, I'm reading them, but I don't understand what they're trying to tell me. Now, I have a buddy who works in an Unreal 5 team professionally, and he told me he spent like 3 months doing nothing but grinding through Epic's standard locomotion system for things like Lyra and these gameplay animation samples. And when he explained it to me,
Dude, that's how it
basically,
is,
here's how
man.
this system works. There's no
I
more
think he wanted it to
eight-dimensional
be like
training
super
anymore.
easy
Epic uses what's called motion matching, which
to make
means is you need to create
play titles.
special types of animations that have specifically designed root motion and trajectory baked into the animation correctly. Then you have to designate the left and right foot position, letting the game know when the feet are touching the ground. Then you do all this
so you
for
get
all
clipping,
the different types of ways the character can move.
so they don't clip
maybe
through the
they
floor.
stop abruptly, or they stop slowly. Maybe some of them are slightly tilted to the left.
'Cause they have
maybe
to
some
know
are
if you're on the
slightly tilted
surface.
To the right. You make all the different possible animations, and then finally, during gameplay, whenever the player hits a button, the character runs the player's input through a database of all possible animations that could happen, and then automatically selects the animation that most closely matches where it thinks the player is trying to go based on the current input. And it uses the feet position and the root motion to figure this out. Once it has found the closest matching animation, it will try and blend between those two. And that's how we get this super smooth, realistic motion. at every point during character control. And don't get me wrong, it's really hard to argue with the results, and it moves super smooth and super realistic. And after spending a lot more time with this system, I've learned
Kind
that
of.
you
There's a
don't
delay
need all
where it has to
200
finish the
unreal
animation
games.
before you can hit another one.
System with a much
And you
smaller
just got to keep
database,
adding more.
and the more I look
That's
at it,
where I
the
think
more it
Halo, when it
starts
was
to make
originally
sense to me, and
created,
I'm really
it
looking forward
actually
to trying to
just
use it
made
in
it.
future
That's why when
projects.
you
And
died,
yes, I
the
know you
arms and
don't
everything would
have
just
to
flail
use the
around.
system, and you can just do
They
a
made it more
standard FPS
dynamic.
strafe, similar to how I used to do it in Unity. But when Epic is pushing it as the next big thing, at least for
It
me
doesn't
personally, it makes me
necessarily
feel
look
like I
as
should
elegant
be
sometimes,
learning
but
how to use
it was
or I feel
definitely
kinda guilty
far more
not using
dynamic.
it, or just when I
And
look
you're
at
not
it, I
loading
don't
it up with a
understand
bunch
it.
of
It just makes me feel
animations.
like I'm not good enough to be a game dev, and I know that's dumb, but that's just how it feels whenever Epic is saying that, you know, you should take advantage of this, it's free. And that's just trying to understand Unreal 5's basic movement system. So if we're just going off the examples
well,
I've
that's-
listed, it's like if a new
He didn't really give a good comparison. He just kind of complained a lot about Unreal. But I could see his point. So then, let's see, Unity. Making Unity games. Let's see what they got. Since Unreal is too crazy and large to mess with. A Unity game with no experience. 6-minute video. This seems a lot more interesting. Because I don't want to hear someone rant about why one of them sucks or something like that. It's not really.
But I have no idea how to use it. So to practice, I'm gonna make a complete horror game. But I only have 5 days to learn Unity and complete the game. Here's my idea. You're in
For anyone joining in,
monster hunting you.
this is our third stream.
In the light. Kind of like that
We're
one.
actually trying to
When
just,
lights constantly
you know,
go
get to know
out,
you guys,
so
and
to
we're actually,
survive,
we'll
you have to go
eventually have a
outside
better
and fix your
format down.
generator and defend
But
yourself
this is
with
just
a
kind of our
flashlight that
start.
has barely any
Maybe
battery.
we'll
With my
set up a
plan laid
little
out, I
studio
got
or
right to
something
work.
if
On day
we
one,
decide
I made
to
a
stream
placeholder for the
more
cabin
often and
started
actually
on the
have it on a
environment. I
schedule.
surrounded the cabin in short grass and
For
added
now, this is
trees
what
and
you got.
tall grass further away for the monster to hide behind. Unity made this super easy.
But
so
the
even
chat
though I
should be
knew
open
nothing, it
to
didn't
anyone,
take
so
long
if you
to
want to
learn
say
and it
hi
looks
or
pretty good. Then I grabbed the free cabin
send some
off
clips
Unity
to watch,
Marketplace and put that
feel
in my
free.
game. It looks good, but you couldn't open or close the door, so I would have to add that myself. Shouldn't
We
be
used to
too
do more
hard, right? Wrong.
Twitch. We kind
Reality
of still
hit
do
me
it,
when I
but it's
realized
more
how much I
hanging out
don't
and
know
coding.
about Unity. And as
Really
simple as
quiet
opening
streams,
the
so
door
it's
is, it took me over
we
2
don't really
hours
like
to get
babysit the
working.
stream so
I
much.
realized that getting this done in 5 days might be harder than I thought, but I kept working on it. The next thing I added was the flashlight, and thankfully this was easy. Except it was completely pointless to have a flashlight if it was this bright outside. So I adjusted the lighting to make it seem like night, and with that marked the end of day 1. Before the generator breaks and the lights go out, and you could fix them by going up to much as
Okay.
this sucked, a lot of the code
So what about
Unity
modeling?
made this super easy, so even though
Let's
I
see
knew
what he said on
nothing,
that.
it didn't take long to learn and it looked pretty good. Then I grabbed the free cabin
Okay.
off Unity Marketplace and put that in my game. It looks good, but you couldn't open or close the door, so I would have to add that myself. Shouldn't be
Yeah,
too
yeah.
hard, right? Wrong.
Programming. Let's check
Did
out
this by
programming.
making a shape stick out of the flashlight that would detect if it touched the enemy. If the shape touches the enemy while the flashlight is on, it would cause him to be instantly teleported to one of the 12 spawn points I placed outside the forest. I
So
made
did
the
he have
shape
to
invisible,
code it, or
and
is
this
there
gave
like
the
a
illusion of
blueprints
him
feature or something
disappearing
like
and
that?
give the player a few seconds of safety. But once it was working, I realized it was super overpowered. So to balance it out, I gave the flashlight a battery that runs out super quick, meaning you had to be smart with how you used it.
The
And that
programming is
wrapped up
like the
day
whole
3.
rest
On
of the
day
thing.
4, it was finally time for the best part of every horror game. A jump
Makes
scare.
sense.
Remember the attack that does no damage? Well, instead of giving the player planned, but it wasn't.
Okay.
At least he tried.
So then let's
With
check
the
it
door
out.
closed,
That's an
you
okay
couldn't
video. But he said he did it with no experience, 6-minute video, 5 days. Not bad, to be honest. Learning Unity until I release a game on Steam. Day 200. This seems like a way different outcome from the
I want to make a
guy.
game, but there's just one small issue. I have no idea how. So I'm going to spend as long as it takes learning Unity until I can make a game
That's the
that's
same
good enough to
intro.
put on Steam.
Is it the same
Shouldn't
guy?
be too hard, right? So enough
gotta be the same
yapping.
guy.
Let's download Unity.
No, B-card.
Create my game.
They totally
so I
did the
opened
same.
up Unity for the very first
same
time,
intro.
and I was instantly met by, bro, what the hell is this? But I learned how to make a square, and then I made this capsule-looking thing, shoved the camera into its face, and programming. Copy.
Yeah,
paste
C++,
that shit.
right?
Now I've got
And
a
I know C++,
fully
but
functioning moving character.
it's just like,
Okay,
I don't
apparently I
know
forgot to
how
do this.
hard
And look
the
what I
logic
can
needs to be
progress. I have
exactly,
a
or how they're
first-person
integrating it.
character. I then started watching some tutorials on how to make terrain and mountains and stuff. And oh my gosh, this looks this looks great. And I also figured out how to add a grass, which looks really cool. And then I wanted to make a tree. So I just made like a cylinder, put a circle on top of the cylinder.
What the hell is even that?
I then managed to find this axe online. And yeah, you definitely use a medieval battle axe.
Okay, so he's getting like primitives. All right. I mean, it's something.
And after that, I went back to watch
That took him. See, this is more realistic. That took him 200 days because you're building your environment. That's where it really takes time. Or like that model right there.
What is this boss fight? Now, does this sound super ambitious for my first game? Maybe.
Yeah.
Am I gonna regret it? Probably.
Can you do a boss fight? That'd be pretty cool.
So I selected my new Unity project.
Tree chopping game. Yeah, it makes sense. Let's see how it turned out.
I also found this cool looking
And so this was 200 days.
I also found this cool looking axe on the asset store and decided to put this axe into my
Man,
game.
that's kind of like a little discouraging, you know. But I remember seeing the preview with Unreal Engine where they built a whole environment within minutes, and they even hooked in Claude code, and they were just prompting it, and it was just building it on the fly because it has built-in MCP. That's kind of nice, right? So it's like it's not just doing it on your own anymore. You're kind of relying on AI half the time now to speed up things. 1 year of learning it in 6 minutes. I feel like these videos are capping, dude. There's no way. 12 hours. Look how simple it is. See, this makes more sense. He's doing it across 8 videos, 20 minutes a pop, because it actually takes real work to build, So I don't know. They say Unity is easier, but one of the features in Unreal, well, importing the models, the guy was complaining that was hard, but having that built-in MCP server and you can like integrate AI, that's a pretty good deal, dude. I feel like that's going to speed things up. All right, here we go. Beginner's Guide to Creating Realistic Graphics in Unity. That's what I'm looking for. I don't want it looking terrible.
Even games made by smaller teams these days can look stunning.
That's like a lot of lighting effects and everything.
Was made by a team of 50 in Unity. So, graphics. If you don't mind setting your computer on fire. And it's a game about spinning donuts. These 60 frames took 30 minutes to render on my 2080 Ti, which is 0.03 frames per second. Games run at 60 frames per second, which means we need to render 2,000 times more frames per second. What gives? Well, all of these acronyms, programs, and confusion are there to solve one thing: performance. I'm going to focus on techniques that improve performance as well as covering the basics. Let's dive in. When it comes to creating graphics, there are 3 major categories: modeling, materials, and lighting. And each topic builds upon each other to help create beautiful environments. So let's start with modeling. If
modeling,
you're new to
which
3D
takes
modeling,
a ton of
it's just
time.
about creating geometric shapes that go into the world.
Once you get used to it, you get good at it.
Batman, starring Robert Pattinson. And if you're like, that's not that complicated, well, you're kind of right. It's really just a collection of points in space that form polygons. But it's the foundation to create something beautiful. And even though the concept is very simple, creating good 3D models takes an enormous amount of skill.
Takes a lot of time.
Luckily, there are so many good tutorials on. I
Right,
want to touch on one topic: level of detail, or LOD for short. In video games, the more triangles your computer has to display, the
polygon
more taxing
count.
it is on your computer. So having one super detailed donut is probably fine, but try showing 1,000 donuts? Well, now your computer's on fire. So what you can do is model the same object in
That's why
different levels
demos
of
always look
detail,
really good.
and Unity will automatically swap models depending on how far it is from you. And if you want beautiful graphics, this is a must.
Couldn't you just drop the
Every
polygon
game,
count for
from
anything
Call
in
of
the
Duty to
distance?
Genshin Impact does this.
Instead of making
Some
multiple
better than others.
models?
I've linked a great tutorial below on how to create your own LOD meshes.
Instead of
Let's
you
keep
doing
going.
it, like the
There are
engine
also
could
some
do it?
Unity plugins that will automatically create LODs for you. Now, I haven't used them myself, but I do plan on checking them out. Lastly, you're going to need to learn how to model. Lots of pros use Maya, but I can confidently say Blender is the best place to start. It's free, it works great, and there are so many tutorials online. All right, moving on to materials.
Materials, texture
give a 3D
mapping.
object color and texture. And in Unity, this is what a material looks like. From the materials menu, you can adjust the texture property parameters to create all sorts of cool visuals. Smoothness makes stuff shinier. The normal map makes it bumpier, and you can even change the color. I'll explain this in more detail, but first, let's talk about performance. Let's say we wanted a cube made out of bricks. And as a total beginner, I was thinking this model would look like this. You'd add the bumps and go from there, right? Wrong. Turns out having 12,000 triangles on a single cube sets your computer on fire. So some brilliant computer scientists back in the 90s figured out how to do this.
I mean, the environments let you kind of build what you want, so that's actually pretty good.
Let me explain.
Let's skip through. That's the most texture mapping is the most replayed. Okay, makes sense. Getting materials online to Unity.
Let's focus on ambient CG. Once you find a material you like, ambient CG lets you preview what each part of the PBR does. Here it is with just a normal map.
That's pretty cool.
The bumps on the object.
You can actually like
texture. So if you like
see it live, ish, you know.
Voila. Now on the right is Blender's
so you're not
shading
guessing.
pack, where you build your materials. And all we have to do is apply it to our cube, which is so simple. So first we hook up the color to the base color,
that's cool. You can
and
build
roughness
materials in
to the
Blender.
roughness, and then the ambient occlusion.
That's
to,
really cool.
Wait, there's two normals? Okay, that's confusing. Why don't we take a look at Unity? Okay, there's nowhere for color, and none of them match, except for the normals, but there's two normals. The only thing that looks close is ambient occlusion and occlusion map. And they're probably the same, but like a sausage and a sausage party are two totally different things. Just one extra word. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. And to make matters worse, Blender to Unity doesn't match either. Like,
okay, so there's still like an import issue between the two.
Here I was 3 months in, and there's no
that's the issue that I'm seeing. Exporting Blender models into Unreal and Unity is a problem.
I figured it out. There are two tools that convert everything for you. Node
So you
Wrangler,
need
an official Blender add-on, takes your downloaded materials and hooks up everything for you. I've linked a great tutorial in the description below, but basically once you install it, you hit Shift-T, select the materials, and boom, it's hooked up.
So you got to like filter out the materials design or features from your Blender models and push it into either Unity or Unreal Engine.
That do the same thing, but this one works for me.
Node Wrangler.
And yes, it's 20 Canadian
Yeah, that's
dollars,
gonna
but
suck.
it took me
Because you want it to kind of just pop right in, right? It's not great that you have to put a lot of work to drop them
for
in.
me, it's been well worth the price. And I've linked some awesome tutorials below, so go check them out. So with all of those tools, you can now grab a texture online, apply it to a 3D model, and get it into Unity, which is awesome. Okay, so what if you want to make your own materials?
So
Well,
getting
to
that,
be
and
honest,
that's just for
that
textures,
helps.
not necessarily
But
the models.
we want realistic graphics. So that's
Alright,
not where we're
he's
gonna
optimize this
single
boring.
material. It would probably just look like TF2 CP Orange, right? Just a bunch of orange squares, right?
Let's see what else we got.
Outside of the
Channel
plane,
packing.
start simple and focus
Seems
our
like it's
attention on
important, but it also looks a little
Ambient
boring.
occlusion is a performant way to fake shadows, mostly in little cracks and
Okay,
creases.
lighting.
It's fairly subtle.
Lot
but
of
adds
lighting
details
stuff.
while
Render
still being
pipelines,
performed. As
light
you can see,
rays.
all of the black sections
Lighting
with
is
a fake
way
shadow
more
applied to it.
complicated. How to handle
White
lights,
does nothing.
baking
So if I
lighting.
took this
Okay.
random sprite and swapped it in, you'd get this.
Yeah.
Now your computer doesn't
Okay,
think
that's
of
pretty
them as
cool.
pictures. They see them
If you
as
guys want to check him out,
I spent almost 1 year learning game development.
there we
with
go.
no
Indie
prior
style, simple
experience,
game that's
and
like
here is
a
the
beat 'em
entire
up.
progress
Can't
in
go wrong
6
with that.
minutes. Here I should tell you a story about how I always wanted to make games, and I always loved to bring
How do you
stories
go
to
from
life,
that to
but
3D
it's not
modeling?
Like that. I was just very bored or very
Terrible
games,
2D.
So I made a black
Okay,
square
so
with a flashlight
wait,
that
is
can
he in
destroy
Unity?
these enemies
Yeah.
when you point the light, and none of this makes sense to me, so bye. After several months, my friend who is a programmer and I were playing Among Us, and we thought we should make a hide-and-seek standalone multiplayer game similar to it. A great choice for the first game. I worked on game assets and he did the code, but I think
So he's
we
the
weren't too
graphics guy.
invested in the project after the first day, because we didn't really make much. You could join a lobby, get a cute animal or a killer, hide in bushes and stuff. Game had some animations, but that's it. After losing
Keep
interest,
framing
I
up.
gave up on the game development for the second time. In late May, I was very bored.
mean, that wasn't
very
bad. You
drunk,
could have built
and
on it.
decided I want to start a YouTube channel. Maybe that could kill some time, but what my videos should be about? That's right, making video games. So I started working on 2D hack and slash sort of game. Again, I watched a lot of tutorials, but this time I
mean,
tried
that's
to
a lot of
actually
fun, dude.
understand
A lot
how
of
it
games
works and
hit
why
really
it
well.
works the way it does.
Just being
I
that
remember going
format.
to bed and watching some guy writing code for God knows what till like 4 a.m. I remember when I coded my first enemy behavior without following any tutorials. I was like, wow, I really learned something, didn't I? Take that, teachers that
wonder,
said
does
I'm
Unity
not
have an
capable of
MCP?
learning. I
Let me
chose pixel art and a simple color palette because I knew if it takes too much work, I may quit again. The fact that I had a purpose to actually finish a game, which was making a video about it, helped me tremendously. Finished game had wave spawn at different enemies with their own unique animations and attacks, and the player felt pretty snappy. As the first game, I rated 6 out of 10. With new confidence in my
That's actually
skills,
not a
I
bad
thought I
game.
should make something harder
Like,
and
he could
more unique for
easily
my
up
second
the
game,
assets or
which
add more
led me to
levels.
make
Like,
my worst game to this day,
he just keeps
my
making new games.
voice-controlled game.
Like, build on it, man.
Using tile palette, I painted entire level.
What makes it worst? The game feels extremely unresponsive, the story is poorly thought out and insensitive, and the gameplay is just not fun, nor is it unique. My pixel art got better, the game had actual colors in it. The code, though, was a complete mess. Everything was entangled together. I was using singleton pattern everywhere because I thought it's so handy to reach anything from anywhere.
So Unity
I
does
was
have an
wrong,
MCP,
and
but
now
you
I
gotta
hate
be
singleton.
on their
The
subscription to
second
do it.
game, 1 out of 10. Okay, it had cool walk animation, 1.5 out of 10.
Which
I
is
had two
weird,
games running on
'cause I
PC
think it's
and
like a
decided to
local
try making
MCP.
a mobile game next. After several failed
And then there's some
prototypes,
third-party
I came
stuff.
up with an idea for the tower building platformer type of game. I wasn't really focused on making a lot of features or a super exciting game. I wanted to learn new things and see how those things work, and I did. I learned how inputs work on different platforms, how to implement achievements for the game. Even though I would do them completely differently now, they worked at the time. I also experimented a bit with particle system and was really surprised of just how much can it do. Speaking about surprises, I learned how to put ads in your game and wait, how much has it actually made me? Wow. As my first mobile game, 3 out of 10. Could be worse. So far I was making only 2D games, and it was time to change that. I remembered playing Swords and Sandals as a
2D
kid
game,
and decided
man.
to
He
make
should've
something similar in 3D. I had no
Be honest.
experience with modeling, so I watched some videos
A lot,
with this
most
guy,
of the
and
good
I got an idea
games
how to
are
work with
just
Blender
2D
fairly quick.
games.
Since I am not terrible at drawing, I sort of knew how most things should look in 3D. A way harder concept for me to grasp was different textures, materials, and shaders.
Yeah.
I didn't use Unity's terrain tool, so I could keep a low
He was doing it for
It
fun.
was also the first time I encountered low FPS in my game, so I did
Yep.
a lot of reading on how to optimize your games. Of course, it doesn't mean I used the stuff I learned, but hey,
That's
at least I
terrible.
knew how to do it if I ever wanted to. Then I started learning about inverse kinematics and made this cool thing where NPC looks at you when you get close. I also made some adjustments so the player can stand firmly on the ground. I got way better at making particle systems and visual effects, and of course fell in love with post-processing, especially Bloom. Everybody loves Bloom. So, to summarize, I learned a lot. The finished game has a shop system, changeable equipment, pretty fun fights, kind of game with paint. And
Pretty
for
cool.
The game after
I mean,
that,
Unity looks
I'm gonna
cool.
make a League of Legends ripoff and reach Challenger in it. Make sure
Some good options, honestly. But, you know, yeah. This guy hired Fiverr devs to make the same game in different engines. All right, just check it out. That's actually a great comparison.
Does the game engine
Oh, this
really
girl did.
decide how good a game is, or does the developer matter
But-
more? To find out, I hired 3 Fiverr
Skill level
developers
matters.
to make the same game. One in Unity, one in Unreal, and one game idea that was unique. Something to avoid asset flips, but also realistic for my $1,000 budget, or around $300 per developer. And since giant monsters destroying cities are always epic, I chose the theme Defined Experience Devs.
All right,
That's
let's
where
get
I
it.
found it. Next up was Unity. With getting started, it was time to find the city, which gave it a fun twist. And the final Unity, I'll give it an 8 out of 10.
I'm going
My
to jump to
creativity.
the most replayed
So I'll
section
give
of the
it a
video.
7 out of 10. So in total, it's a 30 out of 40, which also is really good. And finally, the long-awaited Unreal Engine 5 game. This one took 26 days and cost $330.
$330. And he did that? That ain't bad. Yeah. Definitely used blueprints and like preloaded assets. I mean, if that took $330, anything beyond that, and he's just like spicing it up, you know? I have a feeling he's doing it for $300 for everyone and copying and pasting the same
This
assets.
was the most feature-rich game. It had accurate locomotion, double jump,
And, like,
dash,
totally just
weapons with
reusing stuff.
reloading, AI that alternates
Like,
between
100%
destroying
this
the city
dude's
and
reusing
hunting you
stuff.
down, plus some cool sound design and visual effects. I also loved how they incorporated my suggestion to add verticality with floating platforms and double jumps. It did make the gameplay feel
He probably
a
did it
bit
in like
more
2 hours with
and while the
reused
monster didn't
assets
literally
and just
destroy
waited
the
28
buildings, it was
days
still
so he could
really
say it took
impressive
time.
for the budget. And best of all, no lag. Surprise. Wow. Now for the final ratings. Graphics. Out of have given it
Unreal,
a 9
for sure.
if the floating platforms felt a little more integrated with the world, but otherwise everything mixed in pretty well, so 8 out of 10. Creativity. The monster design was the most unique out of the 3, but it did feel a little generic overall, so 8 out of 10. Polish. It honestly felt like a playable Steam demo, so that deserves a 10 out of 10. And communication. Vive Games constantly updated me and implemented any feedback I had super fast, so that deserves a 10 out of 10, because I think communication is very underrated when working with someone. And that leads to a total of 36 out of 40, the highest score out of the 3 games. But honestly, all 3 developers did amazing with the budget and time
I kind of skipped through the other 2.
While
I'm
each
gonna check them
engine
out.
has their own strengths and limitations, what matters most in the end is the developer and how they take advantage of the tools. You can
Yeah.
find the links to all 3 Fiverr developers
All right,
in the
let's see.
description, and you can use my code SAMY.
What's this one? I'm gonna jump back. I mean, I can already tell this is more primitive for sure. What engine was this one?
$50. 33 out of 40, which is not bad at all. Next up is Unity. This one took 38
Unity.
days to deliver.
I mean,
at
that's not a knock against Unity, but he took longer. Budget was a little cheaper, but I mean, it just doesn't look good, for sure.
and all of my suggestions. By the time it was finished, the Unreal project felt like the more cinematic version of the 3. Now
Of course. Yeah, this is I think Godot, which is like meant for that
really
mobile style
First, I was a bit confused
3/4
with
view
how it
game.
worked. I didn't even realize the huge plane was the ultimate nuke. But once I got the hang of it, it was actually pretty fun. Now it's time to rate it. Personal opinions here, guys. Personal opinions.
Boom.
Graphics. I like the visual effects and the collapse of the 3. Now let's see and rank the final results of the theme, Defend the City from a Kaiju Attack. Here's our Godot submission, taking around 15 days
Godot.
and costing
That's
$260.
what is that name from?
The developer and how they take advantage of the tools. You can find
I mean, that's a good. She did good on that one. It's a good video. Unreal game in 14 days, no experience. I don't believe it. Everything I've been seeing, people are like, it sucks, dude, to do
I
that.
like video games. Kind of a
So
lot.
I'm immediately
And
thinking
I
how,
think I want to
right?
start making my own. Don't worry, the YouTube channel's not going anywhere. YouTube will always remain king. I love making funny, informative videos the most. And even during this process while making games for 2 weeks, I started to like really miss making videos. But making games is something
All right,
that
guys.
I really problem, which I'm
I
just
just
gonna
see the.
call
You could check
setup,
his
and
video
that
out.
seemed
I'm
to
just gonna
work.
see
I'm not sure how
well he did. Yeah, it's gonna be like simple. That ain't bad.
clicking wherever the
I think Unreal is
my own
a
game,
great
doing my
tool
best to dodge all
for
my
the most
past
like
pitfalls and
quality
doing things
3D
the right
environment.
fundamental way. I went
If
back
you're
to
running
that
around,
Viking game idea, and here's
if you're
what I
willing to
made.
deal with the learning overhead. But if you're trying to do maybe mobile or simpler games or 3/4 view games, things like that, then probably Unity or maybe even Godot. I think Godot is the most mobile friendly one. You know, let's check it out because they're showing everything but like the engine's actual like features and stuff. Yeah, you know, and I think it includes all these kind of assets, so it totally fits the style. So, Godot Foundation. So is it like a non-profit thing? Lights, camera, act, creating games entirely on Android. Brings full Gradle support. What? Are they saying you're creating it like on your phone? I don't know if that's very comfortable. Build environment. So you probably have to pop into like okay, I don't know. It's just articles. So let's see. Let's see what they got. And I wonder, what are their licensing? See how serious they are about things. Road generator. That's pretty cool. Terrain 3D. All right. You can see that the assets look a little bit like not as fancy graphics for like PC, but definitely amazing, especially for mobile. Phantom camera. All right, these are pretty cool. I mean, that's neat depending on if you want in a busy environment. Query them out in runtime. So managing assets are live database of stuff that you're pulling in the game. Kanban board add-on for it. It's kind of weird. So a lot of free plugins and assets. That's pretty cool. You can do terrains and stuff. So this is like the stuff that accelerates the development, which is neat. And so Godot is the easy one. $0 full stop. It's open source under the MIT license. So no subscription, no royalties, no revenue thresholds, no per seat fees ever. So it's fully open source and free. And you can ship a commercial game, PC, mobile, console via third-party porting and keep 100% of the revenue. So this is like Blender, straight up open source. The only obligation is including the license text in your credits or documentation. There's no company that can change the terms on you later, which matters after Unity 2023 runtime fee. Oh yeah, where they were like, they can adjust the rates after the fact, which is crazy. Here's a full picture. So Godot is free, MIT license, no strings, just it's a donation. Unity is free for personal until your revenue funding exceeds $200K a year. Then Unity Pro at roughly $2,200 per seat per year, no royalties. Note that the official Unity MCP server we just discussed requires paid subscription. So that's like a feature. And then Unreal, free to use, but 5% royalty on gross net revenue after your first million per product. So under $1 million lifetime revenue, you pay nothing. That was the common thing for Unity, but it's like the most powerful engine, so everyone uses it. But like it really depends on the feature set. Let's see. So Godot has the smallest asset ecosystem. I mean, it's really new. Weaker console support out of the box, less mature 3D. Though 4X is solid for stylized NPR visuals. So it depends on your art style and your design. And a thinner tutorial pool than Unity for creating collection style. Okay, so it's like depending on the game. But it's lightweight, great for 2D and stylized in 3D. Exports to mobile cleanly, which is cool. And it has its own GD script, which is very beginner friendly. Arguably easier to pick up than Blueprints. And Blueprints they're actually going to start getting away from, I think, because they're pushing towards a new scripting language over time on Unreal Engine. So, So let's do a table comparison. Let's look at features and limitations of it. So I'm going to check out their stuff. I know it's like pretty heavily used though. It's a really good environment. But for a lot of the indie style games, right? So using building blocks called nodes, of course, it's always nodes, to create more complex and reusable scenes, add scripts to your scenes, and customize built-in behavior to implement unique gaming, rely on composition and node hierarchy. Okay, to make game logic clear. So extend beyond, make your scenes into full feature components. Pretty cool. Create data-driven elements with custom resources. So define scriptable objects, resources. That's really cool. So it's inspired by Python and other... Python's used in everything, by the way. Every application I've seen is just like Python is integrated into it. It looks pretty cool. Leverage your C++ experience to feel right at home. Or C# actually. If your C# offers first-class support for .NET, you can actually apparently choose a programming language and hook it in. Oh. Rust, NIM. C++ support comes officially in the form of the GD extension API. So it's extensible. Really cool. You can code your own modules. Make beautiful 3D games ranging from devices. So this is pretty cool. Powerful desktop to mid-range Android. Powered by OpenGL. Godot allows your project to run on most modern systems. Vulkan, Direct 3D 12, and Metal renderers. Really neat. Seamlessly integrated. Yeah, it's really, really cool. Oh, this is a big one. I think I just read something. Bring your 3D models into your game world with robust pipeline. Take entire scenes with animated models, lighting, cameras, and physics objects, and customize how the engine views them. Modify your assets and see the changes in the engine immediately. So import Blender files directly for fast iterations using your familiar, GLTF and FBX formats. That's been like a sticking point for a lot of the engines. You can't do that. So it's cool because it's open source. They're trying to make it like frictionless, right? Really easy to add on and just kind of get things going. But create animated videos and pre-rendered cutscenes. With Movie Maker, you can record gameplay and scripted scenes from your projects and guarantee simulation. Okay. Interesting. Work with real 2D and pixel-based unit systems. Interesting. It's really cool, man. Master usability. Okay. It's a lot of features. I'm going to kind of blow through it, but... various headsets, Bluetooth keyboards. Okay. Well, let's see. Let's see some of the good stuff that they like made. I'm going to actually, all right, hold on. I'm going to go old to new. 2022. Because I know it's really new.
You don't pay big.
We're going to see what some of their
when you buy Aldi brand.
It's an Aldi thing.
Dude, these ads, man. Before that rolls, yeah, Unity's got free until you hit 200K per year in revenue. Then they're going to charge $2,200 a seat. Unreal is free and 5% after you hit $1 million. So I mean, if you're hitting $1 million in revenue, you're doing good. And Godot is free forever. That's cool. Unity, C#, huge learning. C# is a huge language. Visual scripting exists, but is weak. So they're probably building that up. Blueprints and Unreal Engine is the best visual and C++. And then Godot has a Python-like easiest to learn because Python's popular and it's pretty easy. C#, visual scripting removed in 4X. Yeah, for some reason they're taking away a lot of the visual stuff. Like apparently they're getting away from it in all these environments. I don't know why. Maybe it's hard to maintain or it's just not worth it, but they've been cutting it out. Learning curve is moderate. Editor is approachable. C# for Unity. Steepest for Unreal. Powerful but heavy. Lots of systems to learn. And then Godot's the gentlest, lightweight, open in seconds. That's cool. I like that. Mobile export is excellent on Unity. Industry default for mobile, small builds, mature tooling. Unreal works. PUBG Mobile proves it, but it fights you. Big builds, Lumen Nanite limited on mobile, heavy optimization. And then, of course, Godot is very good. Clean APK and iOS export. Tiny runtime. 40 megabyte base. That's great. Well suited to mid-scope mobile games. Stylized rendering. Strong on Unity. Shader graph, tune shaders, Europe built. Strongest in Unreal Engine. Raw graphics. But pipeline is tuned for realism. NPR requires working against the defaults. So, and then Godot is good. Stylized is arguably its sweet spot. Custom shaders are simple, though fewer ready-made tune assets. So, and then MCP integration. Best in class official Unity MCP server, but it's a subscription. And there's some third-party ones. Community for Unreal Engine and Community MCP for Godot. Let me see. I'm going to write some of these down. Asset ecosystem is largest on Unity. Wow. High quality, of course, for Unreal. Skewed for AAA realism. And then smallest on Godot. You are going to build more from scratch or adapt Unity format. So it's still gaining its kind of environment. But it's being that it's free, I feel like it's going to end up being like Blender, where it's going to get a lot of adaptations, you know? So creature collectors. Best, most tutorial templates. Unity, Overkill on Unreal, and Solid for Godot. Console path. Unity Direct Export with platform licenses. Unreal Direct Export with platform licenses. And Godot requires third-party porting to do it. So you have to have a porting partner if you want to be on console, which is crazy. Oh, Unity had an issue. Post 2023 runtime fee reversal. Yeah, I remember that. They were charging by usage or something like that. That was crazy. Official MCP paywall. Visual scripting is weak. Mobile is uphill on Unreal. Largest installed download. Steepest solo dev learning curve. Weakest AI tooling. And Godot is the smallest ecosystem and tutorial pool, but it also doesn't have console support directly. You got to port it, that's kind of big if you want to be. It's like mobile and I think PC. Let's see if that does that. Less proven commercial mobile scale. So, but they're building it, and they just came out with 4X. So we're going to see some of the games and how they look. You know? Let's see. So it's like Unity's kind of like the sweet spot for complexity and simplicity. It has like the best balance, but I think because of that, and they got a lot of mobile games made on it, and they're getting that mobile money. They're like they're getting a little greedy with their licensing. So, all right, let's check out some of these videos. And I appreciate everyone who's sticking around. Like us, feel free to let us know how you feel about the stream or make any suggestions. We will probably switch to a podcast style after a while. But right now, this is what you got. This is what it is. Yeah, that was way simpler. It's still pretty cool. All right, I'm just gonna speed through. Okay, that's pretty cool. 2/3 view. I'm kind of liking Godot. I think it has a lot of potential, and this is years ago, and it's still quite fun. These are good games. All right. But they are simpler. And that they're not good enough. These were desktop games. So made in 2023. Let's see how they upgraded. Okay. That's pretty cool. Because you can see the motion is a little different. I think they chose to make it like pixel art. I don't think it's a limitation. It's immediately like a step up, dude. From 2022 to 2020. That's a big step up already. It's like if you're making it more pixelated and stuff, it's your style. It's because you're going for that. But that 2/3 view seems to be a thing. All right, that's pretty cool. Showing how the window changes the environment in the game. That's a 3D shooter. It's not bad. I mean, it's not gonna have like the polished lighting as Unreal, but I mean, I'm impressed. Oh wait, hold on. Let's see. Is that iPad editor? Yeah. So what I'm seeing right now is like, I mean, these are simpler games. They could probably do more, but lighting. I mean, here we go. This is a good one. It's gonna show off some of the graphics a little bit more. It's good textures. Yeah, it's the lighting engine is probably, and this is 2023, so I'm pretty sure they've already worked on that. And then like particle effects but that's not bad at all. I'm gonna speed through it. Definitely from 2022 to 2023, looked it up. Okay, that's really cool. That's like I guess VR, but it looks very real. Yeah, huge step up, man. Let's see, they got a big. See if there's any crazy finale. Everyone always jumps to the end, right? All right, that was a big step up. Check out 2024. I mean, this is now starting to look pro. So every year they were making major iterations. Unless that was just a cinematic preview. I guess this looks like they added VR stuff. That's why it's looking weird. Like kind of simple. Because VR games kind of look like that. Unfortunately, you know. Okay, this is not the best preview. It took a step backwards. If they're trying to show off features, they kind of went backwards, you know. So I mean, it's similar to the previous year. I don't know if this was a big jump. I mean, if they're probably just not showing off the improvements so much. The lighting looks a lot better in that particular scene. That was huge. I think it'll be a fun engine to tinker around in, to be honest. Yeah. Definitely like a good place to play around in. They have a keyboard roll? Or piano roll? Maybe that was the game. All right. I mean, that 2023 wasn't really... Was that 2024? That was 2024, right? If it was, yeah, I'm not as impressed. Yeah, it's not that great. Let's check out 2025.
When playing games on PC, do you ever wonder if someone had a clip with you in it?
Download Metal, then go to Albums, Clips you're in, and connect to any games you want.
All right, I'm seeing a lot more lighting improvements for sure. But I know that's going to make the engine more complicated. So it's like you use it if you want, right? It's kind of like Blender. When it first came out, it was, you know, rough, but they were building it up. Its last couple releases are just amazing now. Well, that's cool. There you go. You got your nodes. Node builder. So let's see. We're going to blow through this one a little bit more. It's just kind of like all the games maybe were hits, but they're not really showing off anything that stood out, I guess. But yeah, that's pretty cool. I think we'll just give that a shot, and it's open source and free anyway. It's like, what do you got to lose, right? You could just play around with it and see how good it is. Console support. Let's see what the deal is there. All right, guys, hold on a sec. Make sure you guys are still with me. I'm going to check the stream. All right. Yeah, it looks like we're good. All right. So, consoles are closed platforms that require permissions, SDKs, hardware. They're bound by NDAs, strict NDAs, really, and legal rules. So, Godot itself can't offer support directly. So, you have to do go through third parties to ship it. That makes sense. Like, basically a middleman. Open source. So, it's fully open source. That's cool. So because consoles require restrictions, they can't be a part of that or have closed source components of their engine. So they're like, no, you can build with us and then use a third party to pour it over. That makes sense. I didn't know that. Licensing, yeah, but I guess the export features and components is tightly knit or managed, you know? And they can't just open that stuff up. It would have closed components. Official SDKs, either building tools yourself or using Godot runs on consoles, but export templates must be built with official SDKs, and Corolla can only be shared privately with approved developers. So you'd have to have someone like port the game. So register as a developer with the console manufacturer, be approved and gain access to the dev tools, obtain a dev kit. Use or build console, rate your game. Pricing. Okay, middleware, download, and self-port. But then, you might be violating the rules, though. Can't run a game on a console if they don't allow you to. They're just not going to list it. So I've seen that one. W4 Games is apparently a popular company for porting. Yeah, which is why I think a lot of games show up on mobile first before they get ported over. That makes a lot of sense because you're just going to deal with all kinds of problems. You're already kind of entering pro studio territory, you know? Tuanis, what? Apps. Okay. Cool. Cool. Let's see what else they got. Menu. Priorities. So, all right. I think this looks like a fun, easy to onboard engine, and it's constantly being updated. So, scripting, gdscript.net, GD extension. I would stay where you can do your own language. I'm going to stay away from .NET. I hate .NET. It's just so heavy. Android, Linux BSD, Web, and XR. What does that mean? Can't do iOS or something? Platforms. Or are they just talking about how you can run it? Android editor. That's crazy. So this is related to like editing. Web builds. How do you build a web? Doesn't seem like it's a good idea. Yeah. Core physics, rendering, and animation. I think they need work on the website. It's a little hard to figure out. I think we did the showcase. After about 2023 and on, beyond, it was pretty much kind of the same, you know. Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna get out of this. It's a different site. And they have their download. It's pretty cool. So right now they're on 4.7. And it's like the easiest to onboard, which is pretty cool. Honestly, if you're not making a AAA title like first person, this is kind of the way to go. Unity is good for sure. I think because, yeah, Unity is going to be good too. But this is supposed to have this lowest learning curve, I think. So it's like a good way to like, if you're making a game for the first time, it'd be the one. Which one? Let me see. Which one? Let's see what they got. Godot, pretty clearly. It's the one built with beginner friendliness as a design goal. The GD script is like Python, which is huge, by the way. Everything uses Python. Minimal boilerplate, no compile ceremony. You can just write and work. Compare that to C#'s classes, namespace, scaffolding, or blueprints, node, spaghetti. Yep. Editor's tiny and fast, opens in seconds, doesn't overwhelm you. Unreal in particular front loads dozens of systems. So you need a ton of RAM for that. And scene node mode is one concept applied everywhere. Everything's a node tree. You need to split your mental model across game objects, components. Unreal splits it across actors, components. It's in a node tree. So Unity splits it up, your node trees. Unreal splits it across different things, which I'm not going to read, but everything's on a single tree on this one. That's pretty cool. Instant iteration, hit play, changes are near immediate. UE5's compile shader build waits, of course, because it's more advanced. A lot of beginner momentum is going to die. So ranking from beginner Godot to Unity to Unreal, with Unity a reasonably close second, and it has a lot more tutorials. Okay. One nuance worth naming: lowest learning curve and shortest path to a finished product aren't identical. Godot gets you to where you can make things faster, but Unity's genre-specific tutorials, also tutorials, mean you can follow a paved road. So it's really saying that Unity is just because it's been around longer and has tutorials. Cool. All right, man. That's actually pretty cool. Neat stuff. So let's see. Let's see what they got for Godot tutorials. And then we change the pace, make it a little more fun. I know this is getting like super technical. I don't know how much you guys want to hang around for good tutorials in 3D software. Hey, how's it going in the chat, man? Let's see. Tanzilla Akhtar. I'm going to try to use translation. What country are you from? I know YouTube has a feature where it tries to auto translate. But It's not doing it. It's actually pretty bad at it. But welcome to the chat, man. We're just kind of going over some AI 3D modeling stuff, and we might make a micro game, you know? So I was between Godot, Unity, and Unreal Engine. And Unreal Engine is just heavy. Like if you're making it, it's great. Has a lot of preloaded assets if you're making a huge game. But since Godot's kind of free, open, license free and all that, and we're just kind of figuring stuff out, we're going to play with it. I'm going to just drop that in. And I think I could probably drop it in with Entra. Actually, I'm going to check that out. Because if I can, or Intune actually, if I can just drop it across the network with that, that'd be amazing. And we'll just have a lightweight, high performance game development environment. Blender was actually already in that, so that was cool. So we'll check it out. Yes. Wow. Cover art, man. I just don't want the game to be super basic, you know? I don't know how good this stuff is on these tutorials I'm going to check out. Four tutorial. Is it 9 lessons? Not looking for that. Let's do a video. How to make a video game in Godot. How it's an hour, 17 minutes. 8 million views? We're going to just give that a quick look. He must have done something right. That many views.
Godot. Godot. Whichever you prefer, if you want to use it to make a game, you've come to the right place.
Isn't that
I've been making video games for more than
like, was it Gal Godot or what? The super.
in love with Godot.
What was she?
Godot
What
is
she
a
played? The
great
old
choice for
Superwoman.
many developers and pretty beginner friendly. Also, it's open source and completely free to use.
Let's see
Now,
if
you
I can
probably have a
add
bunch of ideas of
Godot
games that
to our
would be cool
systems.
to make. But no matter if you're dreaming of making an FPS, a 2D platformer, or anything in between using Godot, the first step is of course to install it. Now this process might be a bit tedious,
No
but bear with me
kidding.
now. We go to
Right.
GodotEngine.org.
I hope it's listed.
Press download latest.
Please be
Godot
listed.
Engine,
Dude, it's not. It's
and
got to
we're
be a
done.
manual
This is a
add-on. I
huge
always like when
advantage
things
of
are
Godot.
listed on our.
It's extremely lightweight and can even run in the browser.
Am I spelling it
Now,
right?
You might want to
No, I'm not.
unzip this folder and place it somewhere you remember. But other than that, we're ready
Mm,
to open
nah.
up Godot. So let's double
It's
click.
got
And it's going to
other
ask us
stuff,
if
but
we want to
not
look at
not
some
what we need.
example
Not the actual
projects.
app.
I'll
So it's
just
going to
press
be like a
cancel.
manual
Then we can press new.
app
Name
install,
our project, say first game. I'm going to
which
place
is annoying.
mine on my desktop under my games folder. Let's
I
create
don't
a
like
separate
putting like
folder
a
for first
business
game, so hit
line,
create folder,
what they call
and
a
create
MSI
new
line
name.
of business. You got to
And
wrap
here
it.
we
And
are, a
not a fan
clean
of that.
slate, a blank canvas. Oh, I am so ready to make this game about. Well, this might be a good time to decide what our game will be about. But first, this video is sponsored by Zenba. If you're excited about Godot 4,
Zenba?
make sure
Who
to
should we
check out
make?
Zenba Academy. They offer cooking.
Okay, I see why. It's actually a pretty good video. He's going to go through all the steps.
This is base 40.
These are like things I
Here
put on
is
in the
Godot
background
icon. So let's create a folder. One big
while I'm
world
figuring
with
it
one
out, you know?
character. Player 1.0. In case we want to create an animated character. So let's choose the animated sprite of the game. And finally, I'm going to take the sprite here and move it up to make it kind of stand on this line. And that's it for
Yeah,
our tiles. To do
he's
this,
like
we go to our
building
tile
out the map.
go
This is a
under
2D
our tile
scroller.
Set, physics layers, and add a new layer. Then with this layer, we can go under our tile set, and here we need to choose what tiles belong to the physics
So
layer.
that's
because we don't
is
want
that a
to collide with
platformer?
everything in our tile map. The trees and bushes, we just want to pass right through. So let's go to paint here.
Yeah,
and the
collision.
property that
All
we
right, well,
want
this
to
is like an
paint
actual
is the
tutorial, so we're
physics
going
layer
to
0. We
speed
just
through it, see what he does
added
with
a
it.
new element of danger to our game. If we
But
enter
it's
the event,
definitely more on the
it's
simpler
right
side.
below. Again, here
I'd
we
probably
can
do like a
click
the two-thirds
score.
angle scroller,
Score
you know?
and points. To create a score
But
or
yeah,
point counter
all
for
that,
our
I mean,
game,
he did
we
it in
need
an
two
hour,
elements. A script
if
that keeps track
he
of
did
our
it kind of
current
real time, an
score
hour
and a
17
label
minutes,
to
so it's not
display.
bad. But I kind of want to see how far they can push it, you know? Do not use. All right. Let's see why they say it's bad. We're gonna hear one of those. I mean, obviously it's not gonna be a pro tool because it's still really new.
Roles, they just happen to mention Godot in the description. So why is this? If Godot is such a beloved and capable engine, why aren't more companies using it? Let's dive in.
That's funny. It was a good scene he did there, and then he's kind of chuckled because it was weird.
The first reason I think Godot gets overlooked is a lack of adoption. Compared to more established engines like Unreal and Unity, Godot is still very new, and some might say unproven.
When did it come out?
A lot
Yeah,
of
2014.
companies are
Has it really been that long?
understandably resistant to
That's
new
crazy.
technology, especially when it's something major like an engine. An engine is the beating heart of your game.
Yeah.
And once you've committed to one, it's extremely difficult to change your mind. Put simply, it's a risk, and it's one that few companies are willing to take.
It definitely.
Unfortunately,
Okay, he's
this
kind of
creates a bit
narrating.
of a vicious
It
cycle.
definitely has a
Not
lack of
many
maturity.
companies using Godot, which means that companies see Godot as risky, and therefore companies choose not to use it, which means that not many companies are using Godot. Tangled up in all of this is another problem which relates to hiring. Not many people have professional experience with Godot. Companies choose.
It's
Secondly,
just too
I
new.
think Godot gets dismissed due to a lack of maturity.
So everyone in the chat,
We've
I
already
can tell we got
established that
a
Godot
few
is a
people
relatively new engine, but does that
in the
mean
room.
that it lacks some of the features of
What
more
part of the world are
established
you in?
engines?
Because I know we have people from all
As much
over.
as I love Godot, unfortunately,
It's kind of why
I
we're
have to say
streaming, like, and we're
while
in
I
the
believe
States,
Godot to be an
in
incredible
Texas,
engine,
so we're just doing a
it is
middle of the
still
night stream
evolving.
so that you
It may
guys
lack
can
some
chime in,
features that AAA
actually
developers have come to
say hi to us in a live stream,
Here
right?
are a few
So
examples. It's worth noting that many of these are advanced features that would typically only be required for high-budget games or those.
So
striving for
excuse my
realistic
gulping
graphics.
of
Also, some of
tea.
these features exist already as third-party plugins or are currently in development. Yeah. You can download a shipped game, run it through an external program. Why companies aren't using Godot? A lack of adoption, a lack of maturity,
Actually looks
and a
pretty
lack
neat.
of security. Maybe you can think of others, but these are just what I've gathered from my own personal research.
we might. I
How
think
much do
we've
these
been going
reasons
for an
matter
hour
for
50
you?
minutes. Might
Are these concerns
hit
justified?
around the 2-hour
Essentially,
mark,
this is a
guys,
problem of risk
before we end. So
versus
yeah,
reward.
feel free to chime
For
in. Like I
someone
said,
who's
if you have
never
any
used
thoughts,
Godot, it may
you
seem
know, we're
like a
here.
risky choice. Learning an engine can
Last
be a very
chance to ask some
daunting and
questions for the last 10
time-consuming
minutes of the
process,
stream.
But Godot has some of the best documentation that I've ever seen, and it's been
Yeah,
meticulously
Godot
designed
is
from the ground up
it's
to be as
a
simple
foundation and
and
it's
as
donation driven,
intuitive
just
as
like
possible.
Blender. So it's
I
gonna
firmly
mature.
believe that a talented developer
Like
can turn their hand
100%.
to any tool. A strong knowledge of the fundamentals of programming.
It's if you're
is so
not
much
already
more
established in
valuable
building
than knowledge
AAA
of a
titles,
particular engine.
this engine
Of
will
course, experience
eventually
is
gain
valuable too,
enough
especially with an engine like Unreal, which
maturity,
is rife with
you know.
pitfalls and esoteric
But it's gonna
problems
take
that
time.
almost seem designed to trip up new developers. But I can almost guarantee that a talented developer could pick up Godot in a matter of days.
Absolutely. If you're
proven
experienced, this is
by
nothing,
pulling
dude.
out some brilliant examples
And
of
it's
games
designed to
made
be
in
easy to
Godot.
onboard with. So I think it can do a lot more than this
The
too.
engine
They've
is
been
evolving,
updating it over the
didn't
years.
require engine changes. Plus, Godot has
Let's see the
in today's
sponsorship.
sponsor. In today's
Oh, that's his sponsor.
brilliant.
Of course, to learn. Man,
So,
I've been
what does all this
looking
mean
at
for
this
the
stuff for
future of
2
Godot?
hours. I'm kind of
Are we
getting.
just
I didn't
doomed to
realize
live in a world
how deep I
dominated
dived
by
into it.
crusty, bloated engines like Unreal. Personally, I don't think so. Godot is becoming more and more popular all the time, and it's easy to see why. It's an extremely
Yeah, Unreal
elegant,
is
lightweight,
super
and
big,
capable
super
engine.
bloated,
And
a
frankly,
lot of overhead
it's
to
an
get
absolute
started on.
joy
So
to
it's kind of
use.
tough.
Time and time again,
to be
we're seeing
honest.
that simple games made by small, passionate teams are achieving enormous success. And I believe
And
that Godot
indie
is
games are kind of the way to
perfect
go,
fit for projects
to
like
be
these.
honest.
And best of all, it's completely free to use. I sincerely hope that more and more companies start using Godot in the future, and I believe there will be a tipping point where lack of adoption ceases to be a concern. And when that day comes, I'll be ready. Thank you so much for watching my ramblings
That's
about
decent.
Godot. If you enjoyed this video, then be sure to subscribe for more. And if you're one of the many people who have sent me a project to review, then I'm sorry to keep you waiting. I haven't forgotten about you, but I've recently started a new series on my Minecraft channel, which is taking up quite a lot of my time. So if you like Minecraft, go check that out, and I'll see you in the next one.
All right, that was it. We might check out one more clip, and then we'll call it after that. kind of just I think Godot's pretty. Why we love Godot over Unreal Engine and Unity? Let's see what they got. I think it's going to be kind of the way to go. It's a good starter engine. It's going to keep improving.
You're probably wondering why we chose Godot.
Quick to
when we have game
onboard.
engines like Unreal
And if you
Engine
know what you're
and
doing,
Unity.
I think
Well,
you
it
can
wasn't
actually do
just a
really good
blind
stuff with it.
decision. It was deliberate and calculated.
Like really, really good
We
stuff with
actually
it.
had
You
more
just got to know what
experience
you're doing.
with Unreal and Unity at the time we started this game. So why
Let's
did
see,
we
does
switch?
Godot do ray
Well,
tracing?
to
Let's
truly
check that out.
understand, first I need to explain what our game is. Our game, Bacon Bad, is an open-world co-op game where you have an illness and are constantly slowly dying.
Because if it's supporting lighting features too, I mean, that's kind of pretty. That's a step up for sure. I think at that point, it's the assets you're creating.
Cities to find customers while dodging the cops. It is available to wishlist on Steam, which is totally free and helps us out a ton. You'll find a link to our Steam page in the description below. Now let's start with one of the biggest reasons Bacon Bad is being made in Godot: open source. Godot is free and open source, and under MIT.
Short
license.
answer, not
This
the way
means that
Unreal
the
does
game
it.
we make is fully owned by us. We're not required
But it's
to pay any
actively
engine fees
arriving
or
right now, the
royalties,
current
which
state
is
and layers.
important to us because that
So,
means we can charge
let me
less
pause
for
this.
our game and
So stable Godot today, which is a 4X release, has no turnkey hardware ray tracing. Godot's high-end lighting has relied on clever rasterization alternatives. SDFGI for real-time global illumination, voxel GI, and screen space. So it's doing other styles that I don't know what those things are. These look good for stylized games, but aren't good for true ray tracing. That makes sense. That's why a lot of the games are like stylized or 2D art. So it's good for that style. And reflections, GIF, unusual screen space artifacts. So what just changed is low-level ray tracing support was merged into Godot's main branch via rendering device API. It's not a button that turns on fancy ray tracing, but it lets you build a ray tracing setup using GD script and GLSL shaders. So you'd have to code it in with limitations like manually feeding objects to the ray tracing pipeline. So you're coding basically. So it's not like fully intuitive so much yet. But the Godot 4.7 Dev 1 released in February 2026 includes the initial plumbing for proper Vulkan ray tracing support. The Godot team is pursuing to better position engine against commercial high-end competitors. They're gonna have to redesign some of the lighting effects or something. It's gonna be like work for them for sure. NVIDIA released a custom fork of Godot adding RTX and path tracing. So NVIDIA might actually be contributing it. If they forked it, they might contribute it back into the main. Make a pull request. It's a fork though, so you're off better in the mainline release. For comparisons, Unreal has mature. Yeah, of course. Doesn't matter on mobile. Makes sense. Yeah. Okay, just curious.
and still afford to eat.
Curious
I mean,
if the
seriously,
feature was
we have
there, you know?
families to feed. Since we control the source, we
Which
aren't
is why
bound
coloring and the lighting is
is that we
right
can
there. It makes
open
sense.
source. There's a large community lightning fast to work with.
It's still niche.
The engine, super
Oh, let's see what he.
intuitive with its
Let's see what he's showing with Unreal. See how terrible the loading is.
lightweight, intuitive, and fast. After using Unreal Engine, Godot feels light.
Look at that
and
load
fast to
screen.
work with. The base engine is super lightweight. Let's say we're making a game that doesn't have terrain. Well, we don't have an unused terrain system built into the engine, slowing us down. Another benefit of this is the small export packages, which is a must-have for us with how much content we are trying to pack into this game. We also found the engine super intuitive with its C node architecture. It is very modular and promotes composition and reuse. Not to mention Godot's built-in signal system provides an easy and effective way to communicate between scripts safely. With this
that's
architecture,
neat.
it is easy to keep our project maintainable so that we can spend more time working.
Sorry, let's see graphics and performance. The good
but
stuff.
Rather a comic art style. And for that, Godot's shader tools are incredibly helpful. Writing
So it's good
shaders
for,
in
like,
Godot is
artistic
extremely
styles.
simple. The pipeline is fast and customizable, and it's easy to tweak the visuals without any crazy overhead. Because of this, we favor a forward plus rendering solution, which is the exact solution Godot offers. It allows us the best-in-class anti-aliasing without any messy and compute-heavy TAA. customizable, and legitimately allow you to create any possible effect in video games you can imagine. Whether it's a forward plus anti-aliasing solution or a deferred rendering particle effect, no matter what it is, the solution also allows us to support a wide
is an open world with many large textures, so we quickly overloaded our VRAM without native texture streaming support. However, we were able to overcome this with a custom chunking system, where
so it's
chunks
missing
far
some
away from you
features
are completely unloaded
to
for
texture
now.
stream.
And since Godot is open source, we are able to work on our own texture streaming solution for our game.
So you can overload
Another
the
issue we had
VRAM with
initially
large
was the lack
textures.
of help with
That's a
specific
huge
problems
limitation.
we had due to the fact that just not many people were making a large-scale multiplayer open-world game in Godot with C# like we were. There was a list. While there are some entity component system solutions for Godot, we decided to go without one, which took a little bit of adjustment. Every shortcoming is easy to overcome.
Sorry, the stream might
because the engine
dropped
is
quality
open
for a
source.
moment.
We can always add whatever we need to. Has its
Yeah,
own
they've
ups
done some
and downs.
releases
And
since
join our
that
Discord,
probably have
because we
fixed a
will
lot
be
of these
releasing
things.
tons.
So, all right, guys. It's been about 2 hours on the stream, so we're gonna end it. Thanks for joining in. Like I said, every day we're just kind of tinkering and with the streams and getting a format down. We might end up kind of converting more into a podcast style stream at some point, which would be pretty cool because there would be more discussions and interactions instead of kind of me clicking around and looking at a lot of AI video content and game engine content. I know there's a lot I can talk about, but it's kind of hard to do without some questions. So we might start doing it's kind of on the list to maybe do a podcast format from time to time. So we'll see what happens. But in the meantime, thanks for joining. We will. I've been doing a few every day this week because I'm getting the streaming going. So we will probably be trying again tomorrow. So yeah, just join us again on the stream tomorrow. Thanks for joining. We'll see you later. Have a good night, morning, or afternoon, wherever you're